Welcome back to Mac Talks Football, and this is the prediction review video for match day 13 in the English Premier League. We're gonna see how many of my predictions were correct and how many of them were completely wrong. As always, half a point if the prediction was right, but the scoreline was not correct, and a complete 1 point if the prediction was right and the scoreline was correct as well. So let's go ahead and see how many points I can accumulate this week. So let's get started. The first game, it was Brighton versus Southampton. I went for a 3-0 win for Brighton. The game ended in a 1-all draw. It was, so I don't get any points in that game. But if we talk about the game, it was quite an entertaining game, to be very honest with you. It was an end-to-end stuff. I expected this game to be like this. I said in the prediction video as well that you can expect a quite entertaining game. It was supposed to be full of goals. I expected more goals, but Brighton, unfortunately for them, they really did not have their shooting boots on that day. They hit a crossbar a couple of times as well, so they came really close. They really dominated in that first half. They were the better team as compared to Southampton, but in the second half, Southampton came back. They fought really well, and they equalized. Mitoma, I mean, one player, if I have to pick in that game, I say it was Mitoma. He was all over the place, creating chances, scoring the goal as well. He could have easily had a brace in that goal, and Southampton could have easily won that game. I think they, in a way, they deserve to win that game, but that is why I think they would be quite disappointed. In the end, you could say it was a fair result. I really don't think so. It was a fair result. I still thought that Brighton should have won that game. They just did not finish their chances. I think they would be quite disappointed. If they would have done, they would have been equal points with Chelsea and Arsenal. But at the moment, they are still fourth in the top four. They are ahead of Manchester City, so they would be really happy. Southampton, they stay at 20, but I would say that they would be really happy that they got something out of that game, because in terms of performances, I really don't think they deserve to get as compared to what Brighton played. I think Southampton were not on their level, but this they would be really happy that they got a point out of it. Up next, it was Wolves versus Bournemouth. I went for a 2-all draw. The game ended 4-2. So another game where I don't get a single point. I said I expected a lot of goals in this game. I went for a 2-all draw, but we got more than I expected. It was a lot of drama in this game as well. I mean, we had 3 goals in the first 8 minutes. That how exciting and fast-paced this game was. I would say that if you look at the general play of this game, I think Wolves had a lot more possession. They were more in control, but they were not really able to finish off their chances. They really did not do much with their possession. Bournemouth, on the other hand, they came in with a plan, and they stick to it. They let Wolves had their had the ball. They let Wolves had the possession, and they hit them on the counter attack, and they were really amazing on that counter attack. Evan Nilsson, I mean, he was on a fire in that game. The way he ripped Wolves to shreds. It didn't matter how which side he was going, whether he was running towards the left, right, center. Like, he was all over them, and Wolves really did not have any idea how to contain him. He ran the show. I mean, what a performance from him. And we had 3 penalties in that game. I can you couldn't write the script. They had a penalty inside the first 3 minutes of the game, and I would say, like, all 3 penalties, especially the last two. I mean, Jose Sa, I don't know what he was doing. Both of them could have really been avoided, those penalties. It was really stupid and silly mistakes by Wolves that cost them the game. I thought that they could have easily won the game. The way that Jurgensen scored those 2 goals, I mean, he would be really disappointed. That as a striker, he did whatever he was asked to do, but at the back, like, that costing them the game. The first penalty, I could understand, like, it was early on in the game, and they surprised them, and it was a mistake by the defender. But the other two, the ones that saw considered, I mean, it was really bad, the way that he just let them have the penalties. And I would say full marks and full props to Clive. I mean, it's very hard to score one penalty. People sometimes don't realize how hard it is to score a penalty, and he scored not one, not two, but 3 penalties in such an important moment of the game as well. I mean, you get given a penalty in the third minute of the game, you have to score it. It becomes very it becomes sort of hard for you to not score. And throughout the game, I mean, whenever there was a penalty, he stepped up, he scored up. So big props to them. And big 3 points for them. Bournemouth, they move up to 39 points away from the relegation zone. So in a way, they would save they would think that they are safe at the moment, and they would most probably look towards going towards the top 10 instead of focusing on what's happening down below. Wolves, on the other hand, their first defeat in a month. They were undefeated in their last 4 games, but they have finally lost, and they have fallen back into the relegation zone. as well. They are still tied on points with Palace and Ipswich, but I would say that they would be quite disappointed with this game, because as I said, they really shouldn't have lost that game if not for those stupid mistakes. The next game was Crystal Palace versus Newcastle. I went for a 2-1 win for Newcastle. It ended up being a 1-all draw. Again, not a single point for me, but I mean, that game was a hard one to watch, to be very honest with you. I mean, Newcastle were shambolic, absolutely dreadful, a quite shameful performance by Newcastle. Not a shot on goal in 90 minutes. I mean, one shot in the entirety of them. They had one shot that was also off target. It was not on target. It was such a bad performance by Newcastle. Even the goal that they got was they got lucky. It was an on a goal by Gui from Crystal Palace. That's how they got the goal. Crystal Palace, I mean, they were really good on that day. They outplayed them. They could have easily won the game at 3-0 up. That's how good they were. But it was just their bad luck that they couldn't really finish the chances of a couple of great saves from Nick Pope. They hit a crossbar as well. Otherwise, as I said, it could have easily been a 3-0, a 3-1 defeat for Newcastle. But luckily, they missed an open net as well. Muniz, who missed the open net, then goes up in the 94th minute, scores the equalizer, and gets Crystal Palace a point, which they deserved, in my opinion. They deserved more, but at least they should have not lost that game, and they did not. As I said, they got the point. They are 17. They are still they are 17. They are not in that relegation zone, but they are on points with Wolves and Ipswich Town. They are just above them. They should have won that game, and they've got gotten a bit of space between them and other two, but they would be really disappointed that did not get the win in that game. Newcastle, on the other hand, as I say, they were disastrous in that game. They have not been able to been consistent this season, and Eddie Howe needs to change something very quickly. They are dropped out of the top 10 as well. They are 11th in the league, and now with Liverpool coming on Wednesday, I think it could be quite a messy night for them if they don't if they don't buck up and they don't change what is happening at the moment, because on Saturday they were absolutely dreadful, and if they play like that against Liverpool, I mean, they are in for a big and a huge defeat, if I'm being very honest with you. Moving on to the next game, it was Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich Town. I went for a 3-0 win for a 3-1 win for Nottingham Forest. The game ended 1-0. It was a lot. I get a half a point. My first points this weekend. It was a lot more, hard for Nottingham Forest than I expected. I full credit to Ipswich. They really turned up for this game. They fought, full on with Nottingham Forest. They did not let them, get away from them. It was a really hard fought win for them. I would say it was a 60-40 performance from Nottingham Forest. They were just a tad bit better because maybe they were at home. They had that home advantage. Both of them created good enough chances to win the game. They were just not able to convert them. I think both keepers had a good game. They made important and crucial saves. Nottingham Forest chances, again, I would say that they were a bit better as compared to Ipswich, but both of them, in my opinion, they had a good game. Forest get the penalty. It was a penalty as well. Like, you cannot really question that. And Chris Wood steps up and scores a 9th goal of the season for him. His amazing run continues. Forest's amazing season continues to get better and better. They are now 6th point behind Manchester City and Brighton, who are 5th and 4th. And with the way season are going, they would at the moment fancy the run at the Champions League football. Forget about European football. They would really be thinking about Champions League football at the moment with the way they are playing, and they should be, because they have been amazing this season. Ipswich, on the other hand, they fall back to the relegation places, back to 19th. They are still tied with Wolves and Palace, so they wouldn't mind. They know that they can turn things around quite quickly. And it is another game. The thing with Ipswich is, like, it is another game where they have played really good football, but unfortunately for them, they really did not get anything out of it. And I think that needs to change quite quickly if Ipswich want to get out of those relegation zone. They have a big game on Tuesday night, so it will be interesting to see how they play at that one, and how they react to this result as well. Moving on to the next game, it was Brentford versus Leicester. I went for a 3-0 Brentford win. It ended 4-1 for Brentford, so another half a point for me. If you look at this, like, I expected this to be a very easy win for Brentford. It was an easy win for Brentford. They ran right, if I'm being very honest with you. They completely dominated Leicester. Leicester scored the first goal. It was out of nowhere, but before that as well, it was Brentford. Like, Thomas Frank's side really knew that how important this is. It has been a very hard for every team that has gone to Brentford's home stadium to get a result. And again, Leicester, with the way what has happened at that club, I expected it to be a very easy game, and they delivered. Like Brentford really delivered. They had a setback when they went back. As I said, it was out of the blue. It was completely Brentford who were dominating the game, and Leicester come in and they scored the goal. But they did not let that affect Brentford player. Did not let that affect them, and they continued their way. That the way they were playing, it was so easy, so beautiful to watch. Thomas Frank's sides are very when Brentford play really good football, it looks really good on the eye. You like to watch football like that, and it was a really good performance from them, and they just completely dominated. Kevin shared with a hat trick as well. I mean, all three of those goals were really amazing, especially the first. The way that they're moving, their counter attack is one of the best in the Premier League. I've always said that consistently, but the problem is they unfortunately for them, they are not consistent. That consistent this season, if they are manage that, if they are able to stay consistent throughout the season, there is no question that they can really fight for those European places. And speaking of that, they are now 8th. They are they're still in short for that European places at the moment. There's like a point, 2 points a difference between them and the other teams above them. So they would be really thinking at the moment to go for those European places. Leicester, on the other hand, I mean, it was supposed to be a disastrous result for them at the moment. Nothing is going right for them. 7th defeat of the season already, 4th in their last 5 games. They sacked their manager. They have a new manager in Ruud van Nistelrooy, so they would hope that he can turn things around, and let's hope he's able to, because if things keep on going like that, I think Leicester are going to go straight back down. The next game was West Ham versus Arsenal. I went for a 2-1 win for Arsenal. I thought it was going to be a very close game. It was nothing like that. I mean, Arsenal won on a different level that day against West Ham. They completely dominated that game. West Ham got a couple of goals, but like one of them was a spectacular free kick, and one of them was out of the blue as well. Like Arsenal were already 4-0 up when they scored their first goal. Arsenal completely dominated that game. West Ham were dreadful in that first 30 to 35 minutes, and that basically was the time when Arsenal had already scored 4 goals. So you really did not expect West Ham to have they had a mini comeback, but just before the halftime, Arsenal scored their 5th goal, and 5 different goal scorers in that game as well. So it was a really good performance for Arsenal, a huge win. They needed that. They have sort of made a good a mini comeback in the league as well. Their last 2 games have been wins. They won in the Champions League as well. So you might think that Arsenal are sort of coming back, but if you look at ahead of them, they are now second with that when they have moved up to the table. Liverpool are 9 points ahead of them, and the way Liverpool are playing, it is looking they are on an amazing run. So Arsenal at the moment, what they can do is just win their games and hope that Liverpool somehow drop the points. They have a big game against Manchester United on midday during the week, so that game is going to be very huge. Liverpool are going away to Newcastle, so both of these teams are going to look at their fixtures and think that the other team might draw points. West Ham, on the other hand, in that game, I mean, as I said, they were dreadful. They really did not turn up for that game. They got a couple of goals somehow, but apart from that, like, they were not even in that game. Second half as well, like, Arsenal barely did anything. They just controlled the game. They had realized that they have won the game. They did not even try to score another goals as well. They just controlled the goal at the game, and they just wanted to finish it off, and it was a great performance from Arsenal. They moved to a second, as I said. West Ham dropped down to 14th, and Lopetegui was not there, and I think he would be really happy that he was not on the touchline, so he cannot really take that much for blame for this game, but he really needs to step up. West Ham have not been consistent. They have an amazing score. They spend a lot of money, and the owners and the fans really want results, and they would hope that they can somehow finish in the top 10, because if West Ham don't finish in top 10 this season, I think it would be really a disastrous season for them. From one London club to another London club, it was Chelsea versus Aston Villa. I went for a 1-0 win for Chelsea. It ended up being a 3-0 win for Chelsea. So I get another half a point. I get a half a point for the Arsenal game as well. The thing for the Chelsea versus Aston Villa game was, I thought that it might be a tough game for Chelsea, because Aston Villa, even though they are not playing that good for the last a month or so, they are still a very good team, and I thought they were going to give a tough time to Chelsea, but Chelsea completely blew them. It was a really good home warm performance. Like you have performances like this against teams, who are on a different level, and Chelsea just showed Aston Villa that they are on a different level than them right now. It was such a cool and calm performance, and again, all their big players stepped up. Cole Palmer with a goal and assist, and Enzo Fernandez with a goal. Nicholas Jackson, I mean, he has almost 11 goals this season in all competition. So all of them stepped up. A great performance by Chelsea. Aston Villa, on the other hand, it is not looking good for them, is it? Now they have dropped down to 12. Like, this is the first time in 2 seasons they are out of the top 10. Unai Emery needs to change something, and he needs to change something very quickly. The amazing start that they had to the season, being at the being second in the league, winning in the Champions League against Bayern Munich and all that, it all feels so far away. At the moment, it is all doom and gloom at Aston Villa, and they need to change this up quite quickly, because as they keep on saying that losing and winning, they are a part and parcel of the game. Sometimes it becomes a habit, and at the moment it feels like it has become a habit in Aston Villa, and they need to change it quite quickly. Otherwise, it's going to be a really tough season for them. Now again to another a couple of London clubs. It was a London derby between Spurs and Fulham. I went for a 2-all draw. It ended up being a 1-all draw. It was quite an entertaining game. I expected this game to be one of the most entertaining games in the league, and I expected it to be one of the hardest one to predict, and I was right on both occasions. I get another half a point in this game as well. But as I said, it was a really good game of football. Both teams really gave it all. It was a proper London derby feel. It was a physical game as well as a technical game as well. Both teams, hit the woodwork. Iwobi for Fulham, Madison for Spurs. Then both the keeper had amazing. So Foster made a couple of great saves. Same with Leno as well. It was a really good game of football, and both the goals as well. I would say that Fulham's goal with Kearney was a lot better as compared to Spurs' goal. And it is not even my Arsenal bias speaking. I think Kearney had a really good game. Unfortunate for him that he got sent off, and Fulham had to play the last 10 minutes with 10 men. Spurs couldn't really take advantage of that as well, even though they were the home team. I think Fulham have been a really they are under the radar. Them and Nottingham Forest are the two teams who constantly staying under the radar, and they are getting the points, and they are getting the wins, although they're somehow playing really good football. Spurs, again, as I said, they couldn't really get the job done. Both of teams get a single point out of this game. I think it was a fair result, and both of them stay in the top 10, and I still think both of them still have an outside chance of qualifying for the European places. But at the moment, both of them are in top 10. Fulham at 10, Spurs at 7th. Next, it was United versus Everton. I mean, this was one result where I was completely wrong. I went for a 0-0 draw in this game, and Manchester United completely destroyed Everton with a 4-0 win. I mean, United were amazing. There is no other way to describe it. Everton were dreadful in that game, and United were amazing. The one difference, I would say, it was Ahmad. I have been saying this for a number of months. I don't know why Erik ten Hag is not playing him. Amarim plays him, and Ahmad was amazing. Everton did not have any answer to him. He was on a different, the way he just ran through Everton. I mean, it was a really good performance from him. And Everton, like a couple of two of their goals was Everton's fault, if I'm being very honest with you. The way they gave the ball away so cheaply. I think with Sean Dyche, you expect your defense to be really good, but they were dreadful in that game, and they gave away the goals so easily. And United, tore them apart. Zirkzee with a brace, Rashford with a brace. A lot of United fans would be really happy with Rashford scoring the brace, because they love him a lot, and him scoring goals is very always good for United. A great win for them. They move into the top 10 I think for the first time this season, so it's a big thing for United. Everton, they stay 16, and they keep going closer and closer to that relegation battle. They are in the relegation battle. Like, there's a 1 point difference between them and the teams below them, so it's not a big deal. They are in that relegation battle, and they would hope that they can turn things around. Otherwise, it's going to be another long and hard season for them. And the final game, it was the big one. It was a Liverpool versus Manchester City. I went for a 3-0 Liverpool win. It ended up being a 2-0 win for Liverpool. So another half a point for me. I think the total is 3 points out of a possible 10. It is an okay result. Most of the results I predicted the teams. I was not able to get the exact number of scoreline, but it is what it is. If we talk about the game, Liverpool were simply magnificent in that game. I mean, to imagine that Pep Guardiola's Manchester City did not have a shot on goal until the 68th minute of that game. In such a big game, it seems impossible, to be very honest with you. But Manchester City, I don't know what has happened at that club, or whether it which is a behind the scene problem that is affecting Pep Guardiola and his players that we don't know about, whether it has they know about something about the court cases with that 115 charges. Maybe that is affecting his players mentally and the manager psychologically as well, but something is wrong at the club. Liverpool on the other hand, they were really, they could have easily won that game 4-0, 5-0. Salah missed an open net as well. He scored the penalty as well. This game had everything that you needed, and in the end it was a great game of football. The Liverpool fans chanting at Pep Guardiola that you are getting sacked in the morning, that was a great moment, and Guardiola responding with his sixth Premier League title. It was a great game of football. Proper rivalry is there, and we got to witness that. But I would still say that we have never seen a city like that, so it is a new thing for a lot of us since Guardiola, especially since he has come. You have not seen City so vulnerable. They have dropped down to fifth for the first time. You don't they are like 11 points behind Liverpool at the moment. And if people are saying that Arsenal and Chelsea are not in the title race, which I still think that both of them have a better chance as compared to City to catch Liverpool. If Arsenal and Chelsea are not in the title race and the title race is over for them, then for City 100% it's over. I mean, they are 11 points behind Liverpool. It looks really hard for them, and the way that they are playing, I don't think the Champions League is even looking good for them. So it's going to be a very interesting season for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, and an interesting season for Liverpool. Now the pressure is on Liverpool. I mean, they have a 9-point lead. We are already played 13 games. All probably like two of their biggest rivals are not playing that good football. Arsenal struggle, City are struggling. Chelsea, even though they are 9 points behind them and they are still in their title race, but this is Chelsea's first season where they are really doing a lot good. Like, nobody really expects them to go ahead and challenge at Liverpool for the title. So at the moment they are the clear favorites. If they end up bottling the league, that is going to be one of the biggest bottle jobs, let's be very honest with you, by a club. So it's that all the pressure is now on Liverpool. The question is, can they sustain it? That is it for me in this video. I got a 3 out of a possible 10 points this weekend. So not a bad, not a good. I think it was an average weekend for me. Let me know how many of your predictions were right in the comment section below. Like the video, share it as well. Click on the notification bell, and of course subscribe to the channel. We are trying to get to 500 subscribers before the end of this year. So please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and help it out. Until next time, bye bye.